Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Joe Daddy's Garage. Hey, guess what? I have a special guest today. That's Robert, the Infernal Craftsman. He's made a road trip and stopped in here to participate and do a few other things as well. But he's here in time to do the live stream with me. So he'll be joining in some aspect, and we'll see how this goes. I know you've probably seen Roger here before, but new experience. So everybody, welcome, Robert.
I'm just keeping Roger's chair warm.
Yeah, just keeping his chair warm. So anyway, it is Monday, it is Thursday afternoon at 3:00. And if you're new to the live streams, normally what we try to do is focus on classic cars, whether it be Mustangs or Camaros or Chevelles or Pontiacs or whatever, and throw out ideas, questions, answers, and anything that comes to mind, as long as it's typically car related. Now, there are times where I do get off on a different tangent on occasion, but there's usually a good reason for that as well. So today we're going to talk about cars and whatever comes up on the live stream. I do have some people already here, and Out of Gas Garage, that is Ricard from Sweden, if I remember correctly. We have Jerry checking in from Middle Tennessee, where it is cold. It actually is warm here in Georgia right now. It's probably 60 something, I would say, Robert.
Yeah.
But in Texas, it's bad. Apparently, they're having lots of problems. Big pileup on some interstate. Robert was showing me earlier, and so he was going to leave, I think, today on his trip, but he left a day early because he realized how bad the weather was going to be. So, kudos to that and avoiding those bad weather conditions. So, anyway, Jerry is here from Middle Tennessee. Crash Rider checking in from Indiana. Rick Gain checking in. Don't have much time. Important meeting in a little bit. Well, I'm glad you're here, Rick. Our first Dave has shown up. So Dave gets the first bell. Dave Conville from New Jersey, and he likes the shirt. So
yeah, I'm official.
Yeah, he's official, part of the official gang. Phil, hi, all greetings from Messed Up, more than one way, California. Yesterday, the almonds started blooming. Go figure. Wow, I like almonds. So, and Phil says, hey, Robert. So,
hey, how's it going?
428 power from Florida, 77 and humid. Yeah, well, it's going to be raining here for the next month. I know in the schedule it says it's going to rain at least the next week. And so far, they're right. Rick Stevenson checking in. Glad you're here. Dave, 85 in Orlando. That's Dave number 2. No bell for you. You're late. But 85 in Orlando, man. Stang Boy, 75. Hello from Los Angeles. 84, according to Rick in Jacksonville. Man, that's crazy temperatures, especially when you think that Texas is right now, 12, 15 degrees or something like that?
We're going to be, Monday supposed to be a low of 2.
Yeah, 2 degrees in Texas on Monday. Low. That just doesn't make any sense. Rick is saying hi to all the Daves out there. Yes, RC Guy Garage. Tim, we have a guest. That's right. And Jack, hi, Barry, from snowy New Jersey. 46 inches of snow in the last 10 days. No thanks. I don't need any of that. Dave WM says, darn. Randy Owl, hello from Iowa. 1 degree here. Need to move south. Whoa. Crazy temperatures. Bruce Roberts, hey, from Calgary. So we have our first Canadian showing up, I believe. I'll give you a bell for that. First Canadian. Whoops. Tim is saying 29 degrees in Plymouth, Massachusetts. That's good for doing your snowplow, though. Plenty of snow, right? Kuderlev and on Dave checking in from Oklahoma. 19 today. -6 on Monday. I don't want to be in that competition at all. Randy Owl, Sunday, we're to have a high of -5 degrees. Man. Jeff Reynolds, Barry, you just missed me. I just missed you? What do you mean I just missed you? You're here. Did I miss you earlier? I didn't see you earlier. Oh, wait a minute. There it is. Jeff Reynolds. Hi, Barry and all outside the hospital. He's waiting on his wife to get off work so he can go home and cook dinner. Right? Sorry I missed you, Jeff, but I'm glad you're here. All right. So, as I said, we have Robert here, and it took what? How many hours to get from point A to point B?
About 9 hours, figuring stops.
Okay.
About 9 hours, yeah.
So, but that's not from Texas.
Well, you see,
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, you're making me do math on TV and trying to remember things. No, it's okay. So it was 8 hours to the halfway point.
Another 8 or so.
About another 5 hours.
Another 5
here.
Okay, so you're about 13 hours into the trip,
yeah,
and then you're going to continue on up to Charlotte. So, but I'm glad like I said, I'm glad you got ahead of the weather and didn't have to deal with all that, because apparently, there was like 100 cars crashed on what interstate was that?
I believe it was I-35 West, and so far there were 5 killed that they know.
5 people died in the big pileup on you say I-35? 35 West. Wow. That is never good. I know we've had ice, here in Georgia, and we had the interstate shut down for like days because we just can't. Nobody in the South can deal with that stuff, and especially, in Texas, they're not expecting that kind of weather.
Well, we do get the ice. The problem is we don't have the salt to put down.
Okay,
they're just not prepared to put salt down. They put a liquid of some sort, and they'll put sand out, but we don't have the equipment. You don't have the salt to put out, so
right.
It's not like up north. And we've had 6, 8, 10 years ago, we had a time where we had a half inch of ice on the freeway for 4 or 5 days.
Wow.
And there's just all you can do is take a grater and scrape it off.
Well, we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, I think with the Winged Warrior, I believe. The question was brought up about what you would put in tractor tires, like to keep them, from to make them heavy, first of all, but also something that wouldn't freeze. And the subject was, it was mentioned that beet juice had been used in tractor tires. So apparently beet juice won't freeze. I don't know. But the discussion also went further to say that they're looking at using beet juice on roads, saying that it would help keep the ice and snow down, I guess. But I don't know for sure. I've never experimented with beet juice, so I could be wrong. Let's see. Roger Martin, 71 Bronco. Hey guys, from Fort Worth at 28 degrees and the roads are icing up. 71 Bronco. So you have a 71 Bronco, I assume. Terry Pattison, afternoon, Barry, checking in real quick before I have to jump off and do a home inspection on the house my brother is buying. Well, that's a good thing to help your brother out. Kuderlev, all your Canadian viewers are laughing at all of us in the southern U.S. They call -10 t-shirt weather. Yeah, I agree. We're weak in that aspect, but bring them down here in the summer and they die. We have Lee GC. I guess it's Lee or Leah. I don't know how you want to have that pronounced. Hi from Austin. Glad you're here. Paul, 10 degrees Fahrenheit in my area. Yeah, it's cold. Yep. Well, that's a weird part. Like right now in Georgia, literally, it's t-shirt weather.
It's
60s.
And in fact, when I was driving through Mississippi, there was a point it was 74 degrees.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Really, just a little overcast.
Yeah. Let's see. Please give my 66 fastback build on Instagram. Oh, okay. So you've got at Entra Stang. All right. So that's somebody we can follow on Instagram at Entra Stang. All right. I'll have to keep that in mind. Ron, hey Barry, checking in from Northeast Tennessee. Glad you're here. And Brian Betts, hi J Daddy, quick question. I welded in a dented rocker and had a question. Do you recommend kitty hair, as I noticed a couple pinholes? Okay, so you welded. I guess I need to understand exactly what you're asking. It says you welded in a dented rocker. So did you weld the dent, or did you put in a rocker panel that was dented? First question, I guess I need to know. And then secondly, do you recommend kitty hair? As I noticed a couple pinholes. I would recommend rewelding it. Just don't even take a chance on the pinholes. You end up with, even if you try to put kitty hair, something in there, typically you're not going to get it down inside that hole, and it could cause problems later. I would rather just re-weld those spots, reblend them, and be done with it. Now, if your question is also in relation to a dented rocker, I need to maybe have some more information on that, because if it is dented, there's ways to fix that. So give me some more info.
And they're a little harder to straighten out than other pieces.
Yes.
Because it's a thicker piece of steel.
Exactly. Rocker panels are definitely thicker. Big Red, proud to be a part of the Patreon team. Another tube of sunscreen required here. Yeah, no sunscreen here. It's overcast. Greg's Workshop checking in. Glad you're here, Greg. And Rusty's Mustang Garage. Hello, checking in. Oh, let's see. David and Cheryl checking in from balmy Missouri, 15 degrees. Ooh, yeah. Lee, how's the flex glue holding up? I bought the vintage air kit and might use the glue instead of drilling holes. Well, I mean, there's no real test on it. It's just been sitting there. I have no reason to believe it's not going to stay in where it's, where I put it for that cover on the vintage air kit. There's no pressure on it. There's nothing pulling on it or prying on it. So really there shouldn't be any issue, but that's all I can say. Until there's some sort of stress test, it's really hard to give another answer for that. Marshall, hey, Barry and Robert, howdy from Georgia. Sounds like I need to move to Florida so I can spray the lizard skin and get the wiring harness installed. Yep. Jessica, hey guys, things to do today, so it's more of a radio show for me. Take care out there. Well, I'm glad you're here anyway. I mean, even if you're listening in, that helps. Every little bit counts. CSLRC, Montreal, Quebec. Notice I said Quebec, not Quebec. Negative 11 Celsius. Okay. I think you get the bell for the coldest temp right now. But Montreal, Quebec, because I say it that way because in the military, Q, when you went through the letters, Romeo, Quebec, that's how you said it. So I don't know if that's actually how it's technically pronounced, but that's how we said it in the military. Kind of hard to translate that on the typing stuff in. Ish 419, hello Barry, 32 degrees here in New York City area. Well, that actually sounds pretty reasonable for New York City in this time of year. All right, R Soup 1. What's your email? Wanted to send a quick picture of a rust spot and get some advice on how to fix it. Well, real quickly, you can look at the bottom of the screen right there, and that's my email address. So if you want to send me something within reason, not that I expect anybody on this right now to be a problem, but I have had some people try to send me some really not good things. So yeah, send me a pic and we can go from there. And then let me see who's next. Battery burnout. Hey, Barry, checking in from Long Island. Started the day off with another Joe Daddy McMuffin this morning. I'm telling you, that's a lot better than going to McDonald's, isn't it? And if you haven't seen that, I have a little video on my Joe Daddy's Workshop, how to make a McDonald's style egg McMuffin, at home. Pretty simple, but apparently battery burnout likes them, so I'm glad he's enjoying them. Let's see. CSL, you are good, Joe. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Brian Betts, sorry about that. I cut out a crushed rocker panel and welded in a new piece. It came out great, but I noticed a couple pinholes. I just didn't want to thin out the metal by over grinding. Well, as long as, you're not going to thin out the metal. You can see where the parent metal should be, where you started. But I would avoid leaving pinholes. Just not a real good idea, especially on a rocker panel where it can get a lot of moisture and material. Just don't do it. You're further ahead welding it up. Bruce Roberts, Calgary is minus 30 degrees Celsius. Sorry about the Canadian weather you're getting from us. Now are we competing here? We had minus 11. Are you just trying to get a bell? Because we have minus 30. All right, fine. You get a bell for that new low. RJ, hello from Norway, negative 20 degrees Celsius here.
I'm not sure winning that competition is a good thing.
No. It's funny. I mentioned it before. I don't know why. I used to remember a lot of formulas for whatever reason, math formulas and stuff. And most of that I've blocked out of my mind because I don't need it. I don't use it anymore. However, I always remember the conversion for Celsius to Fahrenheit. It's always times 1.8 plus 32. Why do I keep that in my head? I don't know. But it's one of those things that I just tend to remember. As you all have noticed, there are some oddball things that I remember, either about a person or a place or whatever. And I think we all do this in some sense. But I don't know. I feel like I keep a lot of worthless, weird things in my head for no reason. Robert's nodding his head. He's either agreeing with me or agreeing that I do that. One of the two.
I am full of the world's biggest collection of useless information.
Yeah, well, I sometimes, it's funny. I have a former coworker, and we communicate all the time. We're, good friends. And usually if there's a trivia competition, Trivial Pursuit or some sort of trivia game, everybody knows that they don't want us on the same team. They're just like, nope, you're over here. You're over here. You're going to go against each other. You can't team up. That would not be fair. Rusty's Mustang. What's your opinion of Dynacorn trunk floors and trunk brace? Ordered some for my 65, hoping to get working soon. The only full trunk floor or piece that I put in, I believe it was Dynacorn, and that was in the Mystique Mustang. And I sectioned that in because I did not want to cut through the transmission tunnel. The differential tunnel, let's say. So I did a section on that, but everything seemed to fit nice. So that's about as far as I can go on that. I think they're fine. Probably better than some of the other stuff out there, but probably a better choice. Big Red says former pilot. It's Quebec. Yep. Well, it's funny how Quebec or how those terms become used, especially in the military, because it was like Romeo, November, Sierra, Tango, all those variables that we would use in that aspect, and also the numbers. Because even like how we say it, 5 was Fife, I think, if I remember correct. 9 was Niner, stuff like that. 3 was tree instead of 3. Just those, because not all languages, not everybody speaks English. So the crossover had to be in a way that everybody could pronounce the words so that everybody understood them. Bruce wins, according to CSL. Yes. Rick, I have to bug out. Now it is 0 degrees Celsius temperature-wise in New Jersey. Now going down to negative 8 Celsius this evening. Fahrenheit sounds better. Yeah, it does. Well, I'm glad you're here, Rick. And we may talk about Rick shortly. I know he's got to go, but we may talk about him in just a few minutes. Lee, have you ever fit in a 351 Windsor in a 65 or 6 Mustang, small engine bay, big motor? Actually, the Windsor isn't that much bigger than a 302 or 289. It's technically, what is it, an inch? I think it's an inch taller on the deck height.
Inch taller, yeah.
On the deck height. So in theory, because the deck height is slightly taller, it expands the width of the engine slightly. Because of the cylinder heads moving upward actually moves them outward technically. So probably not that big of an issue as long as you have the right engine mounts.
I've heard people that have put them in. I've heard, and I don't remember what they've said they've done to it, but also remember when that head goes up, the shock tower is also going out a little bit at the same time. So it's kind of it's not linear, you know. It's so
right. You're not going into a square box.
Yeah,
you're going into a flare.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I don't think it's going to be that hard. Just make sure you have the right engine mounts. Ricard, can we get 5 more people to sign up on Patreon from today's live stream? That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Yeah, if you're interested in it, there is a link in the description box below this video that can get you to Patreon. And I've mentioned it before, and I'll continue to mention it because as I've progressed into the idea of making videos more specific for Patreon and making them more detailed, let's say, for those that are using Patreon, that's going to be the end goal. Because I've said it last week, YouTube doesn't care. They don't care about what I make, how much time I spend on it, all those different things. But people that are on Patreon, if they're contributing, they're going to get better content. It's just the way it is. So thank you for that, Ricard. Appreciate it. Rick, my mother refers to me as an encyclopedia of useless knowledge. Well, it's nicer than some of the terms my mom has called me, but we'll take that. Dave and Cheryl, Robert, good to see you live. Did you trade a rack of ribs for that Joe Daddy shirt?
Yep.
Actually, he traded a rack of ribs and a brisket and a few other odds and ends for the official Joe Daddy shirt. So yes, good call. Good call. It just so happens the shirt size that he needed was the only size that I have left. So it kind of worked out. So it was a good, convenient factor there.
And Monday, the video of them, the rack ribs being cooked will be up on my channel.
See, there you go. So he's going to have a video on making the rack of ribs that are now in my freezer that I will enjoy at a later date, obviously. Big Red, useless info. Human eye can discern 13,000 shades of white. Here's some more useless information that goes with that. You cannot imagine a new color. Think of that. You cannot imagine a new color. You can only process what you have seen. So I don't know if I've seen 13,000 shades of white. I may have for my lifetime, but you cannot imagine a new color. It's impossible.
And orange is not a color.
Well,
I'm sorry, brown.
Wait. Wait a minute.
Which way is it? I'm trying to remember which way it is.
Oh, no. You've opened a can of worms now.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember which one it is.
It's not a color?
One of
Okay, go to timeout. Go to timeout until you figure this out.
Yeah.
All right. He's been driving. He's tired. Give him a minute.
I didn't get any sleep last
night.
So
now you have to Google it, pull up your phone, see if you can figure out what color is not a color, or is it black? Black is a lack of color. Is that right? So now we have to know what you're referring to, brown and orange. So let's go on from there. RJ, now that GM and Ford are going to focus on electric cars, do you think there will be a lot of EV converted classic cars in the future within 10 years? A lot? I can't say for sure. I'm sure there'll be some. The difficulty with any of that, as we mentioned, is it's almost going to be impossible to wean ourselves off of fossil fuels. Impossible. We cannot create a big enough power grid, power supply to if everybody had an electric car, nobody would be going anywhere. It's just not going to happen. There's too many things that have to be fed when you look at a house, car, trucks, power, everything. It takes electricity. And we cannot create enough electricity with the sun and wind. Of course, nuclear, we could just put a nuclear power plant every couple blocks, right? So I don't know. There will be a conversion, but I don't know how many.
But also not to mention with oil is even if we never burned it as fuel again, this is oil.
Yep.
Everything that you buy, you use, your car is made of oil. A lot of the ingredients in food are derived from oil as well.
Yeah.
Everything is made from oil, natural gas.
Yep.
PVC pipe is made from natural gas.
Yeah.
Another useless piece of information there.
Every piece of plastic you get has oil. It's made from oil. Let's see. Marshall, think there might be specially made headers to help the 351 fit. I sure hope so. I would assume so. Now, here's another thing I'll point out. I've had people ask me questions about headers before. The headers that are on Jade right now, which bolt up, fit beautifully. Of course, that's a 302, but they were Summit brand headers, ceramic coated, and they were actually made by Patriot. So I don't know if every Summit brand, if you buy a Summit box, if it's always going to be a Patriot, branded header. But I will just say that the Patriot branding headers fit this configuration. If they make something for a 351, maybe they've done their homework, and you can do good with that as well. Just the way I look at it. We have Harvey, Rally Cat Garage. Hi, Barry, just checking in. Say hi to Robert. I wish I could stop by for some down Texas-style cooking. Yep. Roger Martin, only 4 more to hit 50 on Patreon. Thank you. So that's right. We have 46 currently on Patreon. So, and the more the merrier. And like I said, if you haven't seen already, well, of course, unless you're on Patreon, you're not going to see. But I started posting videos on there, and I, put in more detail, information. So, anyway, Lee, is it Lee or Leah? I don't know how. I'm not sure. I see an image there, but it's hard to make out. It looks like you're in. So it's really small on my screen. So it looks like I'm guessing you're at the Grand Canyon. So I'm going to guess it looks like Leah.
Leah?
Yeah, it looks like a Leah to me. Okay. Has anyone ever said you look like Tom Hanks? Yes. I've had that several times brought up to me, and I think it's more the eyes and the eyebrows. I think that's what the giveaway is as far as looking like Tom Hanks. But I have had people, my wife can attest to this, my kids can attest to it, that we've been to a restaurant before. I've had people like pointing at me and blah, 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 blah. And finally somebody has come over to me and says, people, are you Tom Hanks? It's like, no. But I have had that accusation before. So thank you for noticing. Okay. Battery burnout. Orange is not a color. Blue is not a flavor. So what's the answer?
It was brown. Brown is not a color. It's just dark orange.
Brown is dark orange.
Brown is just dark orange. A very, very dark orange.
Very, very dark orange. Okay. I guess I could kind of go with that.
It's one of those things that your brain converts it in eyes, and just the way we see it as humans. And
well, okay. I guess that kind of makes sense. But if I go to a paint store and I say I want really, really, really dark orange, what's the response going to be for that? Ish says brain fart. Yep.
I have a lot of them.
Yeah. Thankfully, they don't smell though.
Yeah.
Brian, I just sent some pictures of my back window, which has rust holes. Was looking for some pointers on how to attack it. Okay. I don't know where those pictures are. Hopefully you got the email right. joedaddysgarage@gmail.com. I've had this before where people have sent some stuff and it hasn't shown up. So Robert's sitting right here. He can see that it's not shown up. So if they show, we'll go from there. Paul, random question. But if you had to drive the same car for the rest of your life, which one would you choose? Okay, let me add on to that. First of all, do I have to pay the insurance? Second of all, do I have to pay for the gas? That's probably the first 2 questions I need, to fill my parameter there. Because you drive the same car for the rest of your life. Well, can I afford to drive the car that I choose? That give me some more, some more information. But I would say if I had to drive the same car for the rest of my life, that's a really hard question, because can I have a truck too? Like if I need a truck, can I have it on the side, even if I want to drive the car? Variables, right? gosh, drive. Just if I narrow it down to a car, there's lots of variables there. There's lots of variables. Like, do I have to do maintenance on it? Do I have to count on it breaking down? There's too many things to think about. Yeah, that would make my choices. I would have to make choices based on those kind of parameters because, part of me just says I would just drive a Suburban. If I didn't have to pay for gas or maintenance and it never died, I would probably just drive a Suburban. As far as a car goes, well, if I go high end, I'm going to want some sort of exotic, but it's impractical for that purpose. And then you could look at stuff like, even though I don't like a Mercedes or a BMW, if I don't have to do maintenance on it and it's going to never break down, I don't have to pay gas or insurance. Well, I might drive a 500 series, BMW or something. So it's kind of hard to make an easy decision on that. What do you think?
I'm sitting here thinking Rolls Royce. Take a Rolls Royce and make a station wagon version. So then you're nice and comfortable and you can still put stuff in the back.
Okay. I guess that's reasonable. No, that's with somebody else paying for the gas and the
Exactly.
Insurance. Okay.
And the maintenance every 10 feet.
Right. Yeah. Otherwise, right now, I'm really happy driving my little Honda Fit. It's like a little rocket ship.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like it whenever you're driving that thing around. Rusty, work in electrical distribution. The grid demands will be intense. Storage technology needs to improve by a few generations. That's exactly my point. There's no way, even in 10 or 15 or 20, 30 years, that we'll have enough to supply all the demand for electrical cars and whatever.
The grid can barely, sustain a lot of places as it is.
Right.
Let alone with charging. But I think when that comes along, it's going to be an issue of you want an electric car, you got to put solar panels on the roof to charge it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of infrastructure that's not there. Bad Harry checking in to see what is going on. Well, I'm glad you're here. We have Robert visiting with us. The Infernal Craftsman stopped in. Rick, typical, my meeting got delayed. Hell to pay if I were late, but everyone else seems to get away with it. Oh, well. Caden, who is your guest today, Barry? Well, this is Robert, the Infernal Craftsman. So you've probably seen him on the live streams before, on the chats, stuff like that. Of course, he has his own YouTube channel that he's developing. So he's here on a stopover on his trip to Charlotte. So brief stay. 64 and a half Stang, Barry and Robert in one room. Mustangs worldwide are flocking to the internet to watch. Brian Bergman. That's amazing, Barry. People tell me I act like Forrest Gump. Take that as a compliment. Take that as a compliment, I assume. Dave, is the converse true? Is my Corvette really, really, really light brown? Because it's orange. There you go. That's what you can tell people. I drive a really, really, really light brown Corvette. Okay, just sent you some cool car pics from my family, Barry. Okay, so now I think, all right. Now I have a couple pictures. And this, you can see the process now, what I have to do while I'm conversing.
Had I known this, I would have brought you a second monitor to hook up to your laptop here because I have extra monitors.
Oh, that's okay. I actually have discarded monitors that I don't want to have in my space. And it's not that big a deal. It just takes a second for me to do the process, even with the monitor, because what we're doing here, you and I are still on the screen.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing secondary is just kind of random at this point. So these are the pictures that were sent by Ron, and these are in relation to rust repair. So we're going to take a look at these real quick. We'll get back. Let me pull Caden off of here so we can see the full screen. And so here we have looks like a 65 or 6 Mustang with obvious rust through at the wheel arch. This would be the passenger side right behind the trim. There's a secondary shot. That's, I'm going to say that's a fixable location. You can isolate that down and cut that piece out. Now, the fix is whether you want to try to fabricate that, or if you buy, I don't know if they sell patches in that area. I don't know for sure, but you could buy a quarter skin, save you some money, and then just cut out that piece and work that into your quarter panel. And I think that would remedy that. I don't know what the condition of the rest of it is, but I will also point this out. Before you do any cutting in preparation for that, strip that whole panel and see what's going on before you dig in, because you may start working on that section and find out that the whole back half is Bondo, or, and you'd be further ahead doing a quarter or doing a skin. So that's my thoughts.
Well, to add to that, the other thing is don't forget that you've got two pieces of metal kind of sandwiched like this, and that's just that whole arch in here, the whole spot in here is just a trap. It's a trap for dirt and moisture. So when you cut that section out, if that's all it is, look at the wheelhouse really close as well, and make sure that's not rusted through at the same time or close to it, because that rust will go up and down.
Right.
Back in the background there, you may not see it.
Very good point. And let me ask you this while we're talking, without knowing for sure, I assume, can you hear Robert okay? Because he's 4 or 5 feet behind me.
I'm trying.
He's really about 7 feet tall,
yeah.
And I made him sit further back so he wasn't, blocking the sun. But anyway, no, he's just sitting back there. But I don't know if you can hear okay. If you can, just give me a yes or no. Let me see.
If I need to talk louder or not.
Yeah, if he needs to talk louder or move closer, one of the two. So Caden has sent me some pictures of, let me see here. Oh,
ooh.
Okay. Well,
like that.
let me download these real quick, and I'll pull them up on the screen as quickly as I can. Give me just a minute, because when the pictures show up is, when I have access to them. It's not like I can, unless somebody were to send me something earlier in the day, and that becomes complicated, because then I don't know for sure if I can use them or whatever. And at least at this point, I know that he's on the stream, and we can talk about him. So give me just a second. Sorry it takes so long, but I can only open one at a time and download it. On the function here is one little window at a time. I can't just click on a group.
Yeah, you can't just highlight it and
right.
all of them. Yeah,
just doesn't work that way. And one more, if I can get my math right and make sure I counted the right number of pictures. So these are some pictures, some cool car pics from my family. All right. So let's see. We've got a nice T-Bird. Let me pull your chat off of there so we can see the car better. And somebody has a trophy. So that's a nice looking car. That's what, a 55?
Don't get me lying to you. I'm not.
Well, it's got the little window in it. I'm guessing 55. I could be wrong. I don't keep up with those classic T-Birds as much. And then we have, now that I'm not sure. I'm going to say it. Gosh, I'm not sure what that one is. I like the little back window there.
See, to me, those are just cool cars.
Yeah, they're cool cars.
I mean, that's a cool car.
So I can't say exactly what model that is, though. It's really hard to tell whenever they're all dressed up and pretty. Sometimes if a Ford looks like a Chevy, it looks like a Plymouth in that era, for the most part. That's a different emblem on the front there, but I'm not sure. It could be a Dodge. Then we have
my favorite thing is I love that 2-piece hood.
Yeah, this is a split hood.
I love hinged hoods.
Yep.
Hinged or 2 pieces on either side. I just love that kind of hood.
Yep. Now that
It's a
It looks like a Model A,
yeah,
but
engine something.
no, that's a Model A.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah, it
I'm
almost
looking
well, the picture's a little blurry, so that kind of throws it off a little bit. But thank you for sharing those pictures. Those are cool. Bad Harry says, "Hi Robert, I have enjoyed your videos."
Well, thank you.
Revstoration. Hello, Barry and Robert. It is rainy in our area, so good day to be in the shop. Every day is a good day to be in the shop, but I understand. Harvey, 400,000 miles on my 95 Ranger 4x4 extended cab. I think I've already driven it for a good part of my life.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what, 25 years? Have you owned it since new? That's the question. And if you put all those miles on it, because that's even more impressive. Dawn, I've been driving electric for 10 years. Power usage went up 25%, $30 for 1,200 miles. $30 for 1,200 miles. Okay.
Again, math on TV.
Yeah, math. It's like, oh, I'd have to. Yeah,
Especially
I mean
if
that's pretty good actually. $30 $30, 1,200 miles. That's really good. Crash Rider, you're going to have Robert modify your welding helmet while he's there. No, no.
No, he's happy with it.
I have a nice helmet, and I am happy with it.
And the one I modified I have more than one, and that was just the El Cheapo one that I didn't really care about.
Well, if you look, there's one over there in the wall that would probably suit you very well. That the one on the side, it's just a basic, as minimal as you can get. That one on the end,
the one. Yeah,
it's a big face, but I mean, there's hardly anything around it. So, Ish, have you ever or will you consider doing a meet and greet like at an event? Sure, I'd be happy to do that. I don't know how many people would show up, but it'd be interesting to participate in that. Nathan says, "Hey Joe." Hey, Nathan. 64 and a half Stang. Only one vehicle to drive for life. Easy one for me. 1970 Superbird. Okay. I guess you won't be pulling a camper. Yeah, that would be cool. Again, that would have to be, though, somebody else would pay for the gas and the insurance and maintenance and stuff like that. Okay, Brian says, yes, we can hear Robert. Cool. Wasn't too sure. Battery burnout. I can hear Robert fine. Good.
Well, the better half didn't say anything.
Oh,
she's watching.
She's watching as well. Okay. George Cartwright. I need metal work on my 65 coupe, but I want to make sure I get this right sheet metal guy. Any tips? There is a lot of good shops. It seems like the new 17-year-old kid is doing. It seems like the new 17-year-old kid is doing the work. Well, I really can't give you any advice on that. I mean, you got to find the right shop. It's probably, like I said, the best choice you can make, but you'd probably have to go back and look at what cars they've done, a history they have with the type of restoration you're looking for. It seems like you're saying, the new 17-year-old kid is doing the work. Unfortunately, that seems to be kind of the norm. I've seen that in other shops where we'll do all the collision work, let's say, or, the more high-end stuff with these guys, and then this guy can learn on this car. Unfortunately, that seems to be the norm. But I don't have any great advice for you as far as, where you could look or anything like that.
I think finding a good paint and body shop for doing antique cars or classic cars is one of the most difficult things about restoring a car.
Yep. Okay, so Caden says it's a Chevrolet Coupe. Dave says it's a 36 to 37 Chevy. Thank you, Dave. I knew it just didn't look like a Ford to me, so get a bell for that, Dave. Yes, glad you're able to share that, Caden. A fine car, 64 and a half. Fine car, 64 and a half stand. Okay. Sammy Lisa Smith, hello. Hello, guys. Good to hear from you. Says, hello, Rev. I'm not sure what Rev is, but hello. Maybe I don't know what that's supposed to say, but we got a hello from Sammy Lisa Smith. Glad you're here. And Caden, Well, y'all, I'm afraid I have to leave now. Goodbye. Stay safe in the horrid weather, Byberry, and Infernal. Oh, I'm glad you were here and shared those pics. Randy, try and find a body shop that does restorations and ask to see some of their finished work. Be best to get a good shop to do your metal work. Yes, that's good advice. Sean, restoring a 67 Mustang, just found a ton of rust at the bottom of the door. Any advice? Well, any advice? How much rust is probably the first question. Where is the rust would be, maybe the second question. And what's the condition of the rest of the door? Probably the third question. Now, I've done repair videos on the corners, the forward corner of the door where it, meets the door jamb, the A pillar as it's called. I've done repair videos on that where I've sectioned in pieces and repaired that. I have not done any repairs underneath the door, like where your seal goes. I have not done any of that type of repair work. So really it depends on how big the spot is or, what you consider to be a ton of rust. You may be able to fabricate a strip patch and put it in there. Just know that there is a secondary piece there where the seal goes. It's kind of that wavy looking piece that holds the seal. So you have to remove that unless it's rusted away. And if it's rusted away at that point, you're probably needing a new door. But again, it's hard to give you an easy answer on that. Anything, for the most part, can be fixed. But sometimes it's just worth it to go ahead and get another door. And if that's the case, either find an original or probably go with a Dynacorn. So, any thoughts?
I ended up doing the entire corner on the front side of mine, the entire curved corner, and it's a lot of make a curved piece, cut it out, weld it in, make a piece for here. It's a lot of work if it's in that curve, which it usually is. And at that point, if it's that rusty, you'll probably want to pull the skin off as well because you're going to have rust in that joint where the panel is pinched around in that pinch weld area. So, if it's that bad, if it's really bad, I personally, as I look at it, it's like I'd be cutting the skin off and then patching that section and putting a new skin on. But I did a video about it on what I did on the driver's side of mine. If somebody else had that door of mine and had to do that many repairs to it, I would tell them just buy a new door or buy another door.
Right.
Because the amount of, if you don't have the talent to do that repair, it will seem insurmountable to most people because of the amount of work it takes to fabricate the curves, weld it in, grind it out. It is a lot of fabrication work for a small area.
Very true. Good points. Bad Harry, having a tough time picking a color for my 67 fastback. Down to 3 colors: gunmetal gray, candy blue, or red. I'm guessing, is it candy blue or candy red? And what do you think of these colors? The only drawback that I see to the gunmetal gray, I love gunmetal gray. I love that color. I think it looks fantastic. The problem is it overdone? Like, are there a lot of Mustangs out there that are gunmetal gray? Just kind of things you need to look at. What did we say the other car was? It's not the E car.
Oh, I forget what we're calling it.
Elaine.
Yeah.
The Elaine Mustangs, I think are falling kind of that gunmetal gray color.
Now, for my 66, which is technically going to be her car, I had found the pictures of somebody had done a 66 and they did it in an Explorer. It was a gray from an Explorer, but they put black stripes on it. And it looks really good. It looks really good. And it kind of breaks up that just the gray.
Right.
And it's a little bit lighter shade of a gray. I have to dig it up and find, but I've got pictures of it somewhere. But having the black stripes and the gray, to me, I like it. It gives a little bit, it breaks it up a little bit. And it is a little bit different from what you normally see.
Well, and the thing is, you've got a 66.
Mm-hmm.
So he's building a 67 fastback, which to me is so close to the Elaine car.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, some people may like it, may not. Now, candy blue, that actually sounds really cool. And red is okay. I mean, I'm okay with red, but I like the difference of the candy blue. Now, I'm a fan of blue. I'm a fan of blue. I like the Acapulco blue. Love that color. And I've mentioned that before. Now, some variables that you could come in, look at. Yeah, I've seen cars, if you really want to be different, let's say, I like the cars that, and it may not be appropriate for this Mustang, but I like the colors that are, what would you call it? The not glossy look.
The matte,
satin matte, satin
flats.
Right,
Yeah.
satin flat,
Yeah.
those kind of colors. I don't know. I think when you do those kind of colors, in a sense, it brings out the car look as opposed to a color like a shiny bright blue or whatever color.
Yeah.
When you have that matte color, and this may not be what you're looking for, but I'm just suggesting it. When you have that matte color, to me, it makes people focus more on the car and seeing the lines and seeing the look of the car. So just maybe do, a little Google searching and see if something strikes you.
I like those matte, the satin matte, whatever you want to call it. I like it, or hot rod black was when it first started.
Right.
I like that look. The problem with it is it's hard to keep clean.
Well, you can still still do it with a clear coat.
Yeah, and it doesn't. And see, that's one of my things with cars. You look at the cars from years ago, in the '60s, we're using lacquers and acrylics. It didn't have that clear coat on it like we do now. Because now you've got this clear coat. It almost looks like the car's wrapped in plastic. You don't have the you don't have that vibrant, just pure color. You've got the color with a gloss layer, which. In some cars, I would kind of like the old style paint on it,
right?
Myself, because you get just the color. Yep,
I understand that, and I can see where you're saying that. Yep,
but you lose the durability of not having the clear coat.
Right.
So that's the drawback on
right.
that.
Yeah, I mean, there's just my opinion though. I would if I of those three choices, I would probably look at the candy blue, but that's just me. Sean. It's where the seal is. There are pins. Oh, there are pinholes along most of the bottom. The rest of the door is fine. Oh, well, that's not a ton of rust then. If you can get the seal track off, and address that strip, because people get worried or focus on the texture of that area. You'll never see it unless somebody is laying on the ground underneath your car. Peeking up, I mean, they're never going to see it. So literally, you can cut out a strip of metal where those pinholes are, let's say, just make a filler piece, slowly tack it in, weld it solid, grind it out, and then replace your seal, carrier, and you should be fine. Yeah, I would be happy to have just pinholes.
I actually had to do that on my driver's door. I had some of that to repair on mine. It wasn't to the point where I wanted to take that whole seal retainer off. If I could have bought that seal retainer brand new, I would have just ground it off, patched it, put a new one on,
right.
and called it done. But it was like I would just patch it here and there, fix it as I go. And some of it's not perfectly beautiful, but if you're down on the ground looking at right up between the seal and the door, then
you're too close to my car.
Yeah, it's you don't have to lie on the ground and look at the car.
Right. David and Cheryl. David just left to go to work. Big thumbs up. I hope more people join Patreon. Robert, we have a slab of ribs. Can't wait to see your video on how to cook them.
All right, it's actually 3 slabs I did in that video. At
cool.
The same time.
That'll be awesome.
They did fall apart when I was picking them up.
Yeah. That sounds perfect. Don Thompson, more math. 1,200 miles at 30 miles per gallon at $2.50 a gallon is $100. So that makes sense. Thank you for doing our simple math for us because there's too much to think about at the moment. David Sherrill, hope everyone stays healthy and safe. We will catch the rest later. Well, I'm glad you were here. Marshall, the shrinker stretcher came in handy making the corner piece to repair my door. was a loaned tool for me, so don't know what they cost. I do know they sell those at Harbor Freight. I've not used them. They have one that's like, foot operated type of thing.
I wanted to buy one when I was working on my quarters. I was planning on making some patches with it, and I ended up just using flat pieces, make bends, and
Right.
do that. And I looked, eBay had one. It was the shrinker and the stretcher, just the basic tools, not the stand and everything. It was 110, 120 bucks delivered. And I would assume that there's probably only one company making those, and just everybody puts their sticker on it.
I would say so. I mean,
But it would
I wouldn't mind having one.
Mm-hmm.
When I worked for Delta, we had the industrial stuff. So
Mhm.
man, you could make some things. So I don't have access to that anymore. 64.5. Barry's videos are extremely helpful to my 65 Restro. Robert's door skin replacement video kept me from buying full door shells. Thanks, guys. There you go.
Yeah, and those door skins are not expensive.
No,
They are. I bought mine, and I hope Barry has it on his Amazon page. I've actually bought mine through Amazon, and they were like $50 a piece.
I do not have those listed.
Okay, well, yeah, make sure you get them. But they were like $50 a piece, and they fit beautifully.
Well, I can tell you, I'll say this. I guess I've intimidated myself with the idea of reskinning a door, because, and not a Mustang door, but I tried doing that on a modern car, and I screwed it up, and I said, you know what, I'll just buy a door, be done with it. But the Mustang door makes more sense because it's should be thicker metal, and more comfortable taking a hammer and dolly. So I probably should list those on my Amazon page. Thank you for that. That's a good idea. Robert is saying, Robert Clymer, Brad, red, and Shelby stripes like mine. So that's a color choice. I'm not sure. Is it Brad? When it says Brad, is that a color, or Brad, red, and Shelby stripes? Speaking of doors, does a 66 coupe doors fit a 66 convertible? Yes. That's one nice thing about those cars. These doors are the same for any car, in their year. Bad Harry, I always like to hear different takes on color. Thanks. I've seen very nice satin paints, but I want the shine. Blue is also my number one, and my 66 fastback is red. I think you've made your decision. I would just, I like the gunmetal gray, but I want to say it's kind of been overdone. Greg's Workshop. Hi, Barry. I paid $75 for mine on eBay. So he has a shrinker stretcher that he bought off on eBay. So that's pretty cool. There was something I was looking at the other day. It was on Facebook Marketplace, and it was the what do they call it? It had three letters. It was a shear, a brake,
and slip roll.
yeah, SBR. I think SBR machine, and it was made by this one was made by Jet.
Mm-hmm. We had one of those in the high school shop that my friend taught at. And, it was a very handy machine. It won't do quite as for auto body. It would be great.
Okay,
but what we wanted to do was obviously thicker stuff. But it does work well. It takes a little more grunt to crank it through because you're moving all of the components at the same time. It takes a little more grunt.
Okay,
but it does do it. It works well. The roller is kind of nice, and you can set it up and you can angle it, so you can actually do cones as well as doing cylinders. For the price, they're a really handy machine. It really is.
This one on Facebook was going for, they were asking like $500 for it.
How big?
36-inch, I think.
Okay. Yeah, because there's up to there's little ones. I mean,
right.
They make like a 12-inch one.
Right.
But obviously, remember the bigger you go on that, kind of the lighter the gauge of steel it's going to do, because it's not any heavier built as it gets bigger.
Right.
But for automotive,
well, and that's what I was looking at it, because I'm just thinking of, I like the shear. I mean, I love having a shear, but I was looking at the other functions of it. Mm-hmm. Obviously a brake. Mm-hmm. Love having a brake, but then I'm also looking at it like, where do I put this thing? While are still little gaps within the shop, it needs to have a dedicated space. So,
and unfortunately, that's one of those tools when you do need it, it needs to be out in the middle
yes,
on a stand or on a table because you need room all the way around it. It takes up quite a bit of room when you're actually using it. Basically, it needs to be on wheels.
Oh wow!
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've got some pictures I need to download here. Just hold on a second. Sometimes the pictures come in a small form, and other times
and you would think it would just format to fit the screen.
You would think, but I don't know.
That's what you get for thinking, I guess.
Yeah, let me go back to this. Hey, Steve, glad you're here. Saw you pop in there. All right, I know I'm going to have to at some point delete. I have a ton of pictures that I've put in here, and I keep forgetting to remove them because I can only accumulate so much. But I had this email sent to me. This is, let me see if I can find who it is. From Rune. Rune had sent me this. He says, "Hello, have you ever seen this stamp before? This is on the engine bay, unrestored 66 Mustang with 46,000 original kilometers. Was my dad's that he unfortunately sold. Check this out. Paint okay. Sazway. Now that's up by the sprayers for the windshield wiper, so it's on a cowl. And look at this car. Man. That's a 46,000 kilometers, right? 46. I can't do the math on that.
I'm just going to say like 35,000.
Yeah, like 35,000 miles, something like that. I'm
just going to ballpark it, I guess.
But yeah, I've never seen that sticker, that paint before.
And that is a perfect looking stamping as well. I mean, that is beautifully stamped.
Yeah. So I don't have an answer on that, but if anybody does, by all means, please respond. And then I have another set of pictures that have come through. Okay. We'll do a quick shot on this because why not? Bad Harry has sent me a picture of the rims that he ordered for his Mustang, and I guess these are Legends. I guess is what they are, Legends. Pull those up. Yeah, that's nice. And I'm guessing Legends is what it says on the thing. So yeah, those are sharp. Yeah, I can see that with blue. Yeah, sure. Looks good. All right, let me see. We have Steve. Oh, 428 power. Liquid Ford blue is the next color I'm painting my 68 Cougar. That sounds interesting. Bad Harry, I have already ordered the rims. I sent you a picture. They are 17-inch with a 4.75 offset. That sounds like the rims I have on Jade, actually. Those are 17s. The rears are 17 by 9, and the fronts are 17 by 8. So, yeah, that sounds pretty close to what I have. Greg's Workshop, they are 3-in-1 it's a good tool, I hear. Yep. Yeah, and I'm interested. I just don't know. RJ, have you ever seen Paint OK stamp line stamp in the engine bay on a 66 Mustang before? I sent you a picture. So that's RJ. So that was the stamp. So that's really cool. I mean, it's just really cool to see stuff like that. Steve, oh dang, that's a nice car. No coyote swap for that thing. No.
Was Sazway maybe a dealership, and they, when maybe part of their prep, they would, check the car and stamp it as own?
Maybe. Well,
just trying to come up with something.
I'm going to say RJ, based on a name, is not here in the U.S. and it's 46,000 miles. So, is that something that was import and they had to look at it and say, oh, paint's okay? Maybe that's what that was. Because I don't think that's a dealer item. That doesn't look like a dealer thing. I don't know why it would say Sazway on it. Now, maybe I'm wrong. But maybe that's like you're saying, that's the import function.
Yeah.
Stamp, paint's okay, move on. I don't know.
Because I know a lot of countries have different rules on what things have to pass on vehicles when they bring them in. So maybe at the time it was like it had, the paint had to be in a certain thickness and had to be covered, make sure it's covered everywhere before they would allow it. And maybe the guy's name was Sasway that okayed it.
That could be. Okay.
Sounds good to me. I'm going with that.
Yeah. So Don Thompson said, yeah, I got to go. See you. Steve, Bad Harry, what size tire for those 17s? He's a nerd for tire sizes. Okay. Rick, 46,000 kilometers is 28,583 miles. Sorry, more math. And RJ says 27,000 miles sold new in Norway. Yeah. So there still may be some information on there that, maybe it was part of the import process. Mm-hmm. That'd be my guess. If it was sold new in Norway, it had to obviously pass some sort of, inspection process, I guess. 64.5 Stang. Good thing the paint stamp didn't say paint sucks. That's a whole different stamp. And it probably doesn't get into the country. They put paint sucks on it and they ship it back. Who judges? How do they judge that? If one guy didn't like the color, puts the paint sucks stamp on it. I don't like this color.
Well, okay. Since it's Norway, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that has to do with the shipping company.
Before it launched.
Before when the shipping company delivers it to the dealership and they verify that it's not damaged.
Right.
Shipping on the ship.
I'll go with that.
Maybe that was the shipping company's name or something.
Yeah, that's a good point. Bad Harry's still working on tire size. Doug Pinzer, what do you recommend to repair missing windshield and or rear window stud in the channel for the molding clips? Thank you. They actually sell a kit where you put a screw in. You can buy a kit. I don't have a link to it or anything, but it's just a simple running a screw in. You put the clip in place and put the screw in, as opposed to, I don't know if you can put the screw over or put it over the screw or you screw it on.
When I would get GM trim for GM vehicles,
yeah,
especially 80s ones, when I would buy a piece of trim, it actually came with a bag of clips. And with that bag of clips, it actually came with the screws.
Okay.
And so it was like, okay, in case this car didn't have them for whatever reason,
right,
putting it on, it had them. Now, those screws were basically just like the kind of nail head, I guess is what you would call
the stud.
And you drilled a hole and you screwed it in. It had like a wax or something on the threads that would seal up the hole, and you would just thread it in there, and then you could put the clip on just like normal.
Okay, so the clip would slide over.
Yeah, the clip would slide over it. It was a shoulder. I've got some of those at home that I could,
well,
a little bit far away from me right now.
Yeah. Well, I have seen. I know you can buy the clips with the screws. I can't remember how you research or what you Google on that. But the ones that I bought, if I remember, they were designed more like you put the clip in place and run the screw into it, where it wasn't like slipping it over. So there's probably variables out there, but you can just replace it that way. Otherwise, I think it would take a specialized tool to spot weld that stud onto the car.
The stud welders, for pulling dents, they actually, I don't know if they still make them, but they used to sell an
adapter.
It was a special stud that actually had that stud on the end. You would zap it on there, and then you would break off the rest of the stuff on the top.
Oh, I get it.
I don't know if they still make them, but they did it one time.
Oh, that would be interesting.
You would just just take it and you'd buzz it on there, and then you just bend it back and forth because it was reduced shank in that above it. You bend it back and forth, snap it off. I don't know if they still make it, but they did at one time.
That would be interesting. And I wonder in that instance if there's a way to get it indexed properly, like so far off of the pinch weld so that you're not too high or too low, so that your trim is actually connected properly.
You could make like like an aircraft, like a drill jig.
Yeah,
aircraft. You could actually make a little jig.
Yeah,
with like take some kind of sheet metal or wood, or have even just if it was
have a cutout,
90 in it, and you just hold it in there, just put it into there, and boom, there you
go.
Yeah, and pull that piece out.
That would That would be good. I've never seen those, but that sounds like a really great idea. Jasper, I had a paint OK stamp on my 65 fastback originally from Seattle. Yeah, I think the thing that throws me off is the Sasway thing. I don't know what I've not researched what Sasway means or where that's from, but I'm sure somebody can or will shortly. Randy Owl, glad it wasn't brown. They wouldn't see the color. They would say this is an ugly orange, is what they would say. Steve is saying, Footage Factory, Bad Harry, check out my tire size video. I stole info from Barry's video. He did, and that was good video. Interesting. Auto Live 55. Maybe it has to do with lead in paint.
There you go.
Oh.
Eastwood actually has a little different version.
Oh, there
It
you
has
go.
a replacement tip for the spot welder, and it just welds them right on there without the extra piece I was talking about.
Yeah.
Just does it as one piece and you're done.
Interesting. So Eastwood sells a tool for doing those studs.
But you have to have the spot welder.
Right.
You know, the puller, what do you want to call that thing?
Spot welder gun?
Yeah.
Or
sounds good. The body, the dent puller spot welder.
The dent puller spot welder gun thingy.
The doohickey thingamajig, you know.
Bad Harry, I've seen the paint stamps on cars. It shows that it's factory inspection stamp. Yep. Marshall, I know on my early 65, all of them are screw, no studs. I'd like to think you could use screws too. Yes. Yeah, if I remember, like you're saying, on the 65, early 65, and I guess the 64, maybe it just had screws as well. So.
And there's the actual screws, kind of like I was talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And I
that was on Speedway Motors.
Yeah, it's on Speedway Motors.
So Speedway Motors sells the screws that have the shoulder for the clip to slide over. So.
And then there also is the screws like you were talking about earlier that just you have to hold the clip on and then thread it in.
Yeah.
I kind of like this option better because you can still take the clip off. So you break it, you can replace it without having to unscrew it.
Right. Yeah. The only thing, my only concern again is, and not that it's probably that critical. I tend to overthink things because, airplanes and stuff, but that the line, let's say you get where the trim screws go, and then isolating the high and low, and that, side to side doesn't matter. It's the high and low point so that your clip sits properly. That's probably the only thing that I would look at.
I have another option as well. There is one I didn't know about until right now.
Okay.
There is a pop rivet version.
A pop rivet.
That's new to me. So it's got the little shoulder up there.
Wow.
And it's a pop rivet.
Okay.
I like that actually.
Yeah. So
easy.
That would be, yeah. So this is from Belden Speed. So I don't know who that company is. I'll type that in here. Make sure I hopefully spell it right. BeldenSpeed.com. I don't even know if I post it, if it'll make a difference if I put .com on there. But that is the
that's
pop rivet type of retainer for the clips that you can use. That's pretty cool.
I would, to be honest, I would trust the pop rivet more than I would the screws because I've done the screws and they're hit or miss.
Yeah,
whether they grab well or not.
Steve, I think the lead in paint idea might be the most plausible. The lead in the paint, as far as the paint OK sticker or stamp.
Whether the paint was a lead-based paint.
Oh, I see.
That's a possibility.
Well, 66 they were lead-based though, weren't they? Wasn't it lead-based paint?
I want to say the red primer was.
Yeah, I mean the red primer was definitely.
The top coats.
Because they called
red lead.
Red lead. So.
But it was wonderful paint. It stuck to everything at the time. And boats used it. Well.
Greg says, "Hi, send me one. I could use it." And then that's okay. So Greg also says that is what I get here. I'm not sure if that's referring to the pop rivets or the studs. Bad Harry, I did see the great video that Barry did on tire size. Well, thank you for that. But Steve has one as well, so give him a look. It's a belt and speed. And then Brian Betts says stud welder. Yep. Outalize 55 has a yes. 64. Robert, make a video of you hitting your GoPro with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
That'll get views.
That's an expensive video right there.
No, you don't use your new GoPro. Get an old one. Get a GoPro Hero 1 or something, or 2.
There's a GoPro Hero 3 on the trailer.
Yeah.
I know there's one of those in there.
I have a Hero 3 in the house.
I don't think she'll miss it.
Well, I also have, I don't know where it's at. I do have, that's funny. I do have a generic because here's my 7 right here.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have a copy somewhere that would probably pass. If you said, I'm tired of my Hero GoPro and whack and shoot that Amazon one down the drain. Brendan's Garage checking in. Good morning, Barry. Well, hello from New Zealand. Hope all is well. Steve, lead levels are different for international. Ask me how I know. Google told me. How do you know, Steve? All right. Ricard, need to check out. Good night, everyone. Yeah, we're an hour plus into this, so I'm probably going to be calling it a day here very soon. Jasper found us on a forum. There were a 2-line stamp. The second line had a number sequence or inspector name, depending on year and time period. Okay. That's some good information. And I don't have a lot, I can't, it's not something I've researched, I do appreciate the factory cars and the original stamps and all those cool things, but it's really not high on my list. Just not something I pursue, but
I
good
do
information.
like seeing it on a car. When an original car, it's nice to see the little scrawl marks and stuff that the guy actually did back in the 60s. Some guy actually wrote that on there and made that mark. It's cool to see that just from a historical standpoint.
Speaking of those kind of things, I saw a post on Facebook the other day, one of the Mustang restoration pages or something. And the guy, they were showing pictures of a restoration where they did a superb job mimicking the original overspray, runs in the undercoat or whatever it was. And this car looked, and now I can't say whether they put in new panels or not. I don't know, or if they just replicated, an original car, but it looked fantastic. I mean, you want to look, obviously the idea was when they did these cars, you wanted a smooth undercoat or you wanted smooth paint. It wasn't expected to get overspray and different stuff like that. This one had the little sags and little drips, and if they had to go out of their way to make that happen, it just didn't, show up. So good for them for doing that. Okay, I'm going to do one more. We got Brendan's Garage here. All is well. Thanks, Barry. Start my new job in a week's time. Going to be a vehicle inspector. Well, that's probably a good call for you because you know what to look for. So, okay. I think that's probably going to be it for today. We've gone 20 minutes longer than I normally do on a Thursday. Glad y'all were here. I'm glad Robert was here to give some insight and input. And we're going to probably do a couple things here in the shop shortly and see how that goes. But I want to thank everybody again for watching. If you're interested in joining Patreon, there's links in the description. And there will be 2 videos coming out. One tomorrow. And then another one on Sunday. And the Sunday will be a viewer's project. So look forward to getting feedback on those as well. Bad Harry, my car will look original. I can do all those things, runs, overspray, etc. Yep. Yeah, it's easy. Steve, yeah, I've seen that they duplicated the mistakes and inspection marks on the car, as well as making screws all the same direction. Yeah, lots of little things. Okay, once again, I'm going to call it a day. Thanks for being here, and I'm pretty sure we'll be back Monday night at 7 o'clock. Hope you all are here and have a good weekend. Don't forget, it's Valentine's weekend, so do something. See ya.